In this video, we are going to see a map of North America where there are no Great Lakes like Ontario, Michigan, and Lake Superior. And these are the comments of this channel about the history reset and about the history that we were not aware of unless we research the sources available to us.
But regardless, yes, I don't see the Great Lakes as if they haven't been formed. And here we go. Now here is Shilaga. Shilaga, which I think, Chicago gets its name from. But again, we don't have the lake yet. And one of my commenters, he had beautiful definitions of what these meant. And laga I believe meant town, and she meant large. So this was large town. And right here, depicting this one. So here's a lot of smaller towns, but this was large town. So Chicago and Shilaga, and we'll see a lot of other pronunciations of it, but always depicting, I believe, the same place was this town. So look at all of these towns. These would have been grand and glorious port towns. And I think recently, and I want to touch on this a little bit later in the video if I have time, but Conspiracy R Us did a wonderful piece and depicting all of the bomb sites in the Carolinas. And look here, look at the towns by the Carolinas. Significant again. Old map, pre-America, this is still New France, and look at the towns. And now this seems to have a correlation. If we saw the blast marks that he was showing us on, various images, here we go. These are the ancient towns. And here again, great lakes suddenly formed that aren't here. Well, Great Lakes. Here's one Great Lake right here. Kaboom! Probably wiped out all of these in one shot. And Chicago seems to have just serious antiquitech and ancient architecture and layouts of the rivers and the waterfronts, and clearly to me, older, just like we've been showing in a lot of these videos, and a lot of creators have been showing. Chicago is no exception, and I've been wanting to just get a whole bunch of pictures depicting Chicago alone. But here again, we do see the cities without the Great Lakes, and a lot of Chicago was preserved, but yet clearly a lot wasn't. And even here, this Hotchella, we see that a lot. So Hotchella, Gelaga. So again, Laga, town. Shilaga, town. Now, whose language is this? I don't know. So that's going to be like a large mountain, maybe. Really interesting. And so much. And again, look at the towns. Look at Mexico. I mean, look how inhabited Mexico is. I mean, it's as if, perhaps some of these pyramids even, perhaps they were still going on in Chihuahua, and, you have pyramids here. And yes, were these such old ruins, or was a lot of these ruins still being occupied? Places where we now see ruins, and places that are very remote in some cases, well, they certainly weren't ruins in these pictures. I mean, we can go clear down to South America, and Peru, and look at this. I mean, look at the population in Peru, in kind of the remote areas. So absolutely fascinating. And now where we see great deserts, and the same thing up here. This one is really interesting. Again, showing the missing piece, America. And look how it's really just showing wild animals, and maybe just depicting the wild, but really I think depicting the mystery, because they have no idea. Now here we do see the Great Lake, if I'm seeing that correctly, and it looks like a complete reorientation of what we were seeing in earlier maps. California appears to be an island again, but maybe they just didn't know again, because the ancient race occupied this northern west region, and really you probably weren't able to even explore up here. Now this map says around 1600. It actually said around 1600, as if there's no actual knowledge of this date. And this one seems really old. I mean, we have what looks like Greenland being called Meta Incognita. Really interesting. Maybe this is a little portion of Iceland, I don't know. Arcticus. So we are seeing a complete connection here with the North Polar region. But what caught my eye about this map, although there are tons of anomalous things, is this kind of railroad track right here. And this is as much as I can zoom in, but this railroad track right here, really interesting. Of course, everything is laid out completely different now, but what I noticed is the orientation of the Great Lakes, or maybe the lack of their greatness. This appears, with its right angles, almost artificial, and especially this train tracky looking thing here. I don't know. What kind of tech is this? What is this? And we really see a build out of civilization along the coast in this old map. And I have seen a ton, of star forts along here. I mean, this is like Starfort Central. And this is artificial coastline central. I mean, we have a reshaping of the coastline. And I think, that may be what we're seeing here. And so, yeah, the coastline to me seems very artificial. Very, very artificial. And, you can see here. Now, of course, Google is playing tricks here again. And we're not getting a full, clear image. I think that what we can see is similar to what I was talking about earlier, and perhaps the star fortiness. If you look carefully, this whole, it's as if all of this was star forty, and it's been rounded off. The corners and the definition has been rounded off to where it's almost not apparent, but you can make it out, I think. But I think what we have is artificial patterns here, and also artificial sandbars. Now these sandbars, they absolutely seem artificial to me. And, the feat of engineering and the amount of money, and I don't know, who allocated funds to build a sandbar along the entire coast of the United States, and a beautiful sandbar with.
So this was the presentation for today. Hope you enjoyed.